Look, Baldur's Gate 3 is a humongous game. For most players, it's going to take around 35 to 40 hours to fight their way through hordes of goblins, romance their preferred party member, and sail off into the sunset at the end of Act 3, the hero with everything tied up in a tight little bow. Hey, welcome to the channel. We're talking Baldur's Gate 3 again, obviously. So for the completionists, Baldur's Gate 3 is the undertaking of a lifetime, taking anything from 90 to 100 hours plus to thoroughly explore every nook and cranny that might possibly hold a piece of treasure, meet every NPC and become best friends with them and best man at their wedding, and of course blow up, stab, and drop an owlbear on every available boss monster in the game. Baldur's Gate 3 then, in short, ironically, is a game that seems to have been designed to be played slowly. You can tackle it at your own pace, complete the quests you want to prioritise, you are invited by Larian Studios to take your time. So naturally, as is always the case when a new game launches and jumps to the top 10 of the Steam leaderboards, the speedrunners caught wind of a new game to tackle that was famous for its overwhelming length and decided to have some fun with it. Step in speedrunner May, who scoffed at the how long to beat predictions, proudly asked her party to hold her mead, and got to work breaking Baldur's Gate 3. At the time of writing this video, May's best run had them finishing this masterclass of CRPG storytelling in a little over 10 minutes. Yup, in less time it takes most normal people to run a mile, May managed to render one of the biggest, longest, most in-depth RPGs ever created, finished. Obviously, as is often the case when it comes to tricksy speedrunners, there is a bit of cheese involved in taking down Baldur's Gate 3 so quickly, and it involves origin character, potential party member, and all-round wizard boy, Gale. In order to pull off May's speedrun tech, you need to select Gale as your character when you start the game thanks to a quirk of his storyline, allowing you to finish the game way earlier than you should, and a moderately powerful jump spell that makes his movement a lot faster than your average bear. So essentially, like you might expect from a deep RPG that features numerous different endings, twists and turns in its story, there's a bad way for Baldur's Gate 3 to end that you can trigger in Act 2, basically making the actual final act of the game moot and taking you to the credits really a hell of a lot faster than you should get there. It involves a very dark choice that Gale can make that essentially kills absolutely everyone and everything you hold dear, and while we won't spoil everything, suffice to say it involves mind flayers, brain soup, and a whole lot of screaming. It's not something you're generally going to want to encourage Gale to do if you value being alive. So, all a discerning speedrunner has to do to reach the credits is leg it full pelt with Gale to a specific point and conversation in Act 2, make the choice, and boom, Baldur's Gate 3 is done. I'm making it sound a lot simpler than it actually is, of course. To get there in 10 minutes flat, you basically have to skip everything the game throws at you. Cutscenes, combat, canoodling with Karlach, it's all off the table. Instead, you're going to be spamming Enhanced Leap and Misty Step to cheese your way through stealth or simply running away, skipping merrily through everything as you go. Unlike most speedruns of this scale though, the current meta actually uses very little glitches, taking advantage of a few little exploits like clipping into the last area in Act 2 and generally just trying to avoid getting in any fights at all. For now, this seems to be the agreed best way for speedrunners to mainline their way towards the credits, but don't expect the record to stand for very long. With even more glitches and exploits being discovered and players discovering ways to deal damage with owlbears or exploding loot, there's very little stopping the speedrunners from breaking this game even further than they already have. Now obviously, a speedrun all the way to the end credits of the game isn't the only way Baldur's Gate 3 runners are trying to make the game more fun for themselves. The spicier side of this speedrunner community, which May is also in, and the record holder for, by the way, has one simple aim: getting a companion into the sleeping bag with you as quickly as possible. May managed to seduce Lae'zel in the game in just 7 minutes and 54 seconds. She set the world record on this now official speedrun category by exploiting Thunderleap and getting her Riz on as quickly as humanly, or Githyankily, as possible. Given how big budget horny Baldur's Gate 3 is, we'd expect that record to fall pretty quickly. It's not the way everyone wants to play, but I don't think we'll ever stop being impressed by the ingenuity and skill that speedrunners have. Speaking as someone barely out of Act 1 despite a lot more hours than May in my playthrough, being able to play that quickly and resist the urge to loot every possible thing you see, yeah, that's too much for me. That said, speedrun records do fall fast, so don't be surprised if May or one of their speedrunner colleagues manages to doom the entire world in 5 minutes flat come next week. And if you're sick of speedrunning and want to get your teeth into even more Baldur's Gate 3 content, we don't blame you. Check out these videos here.